Hi everyone, so my name is Sarah. I'm a career coach and resume writer, and also a digital nomad. So I've been working and traveling for a few years now, and right now I'm currently in the beautiful mountains of Thailand called Khao Yai at a BJJ Muay Thai resort. And as you can see, I'm in my gear right now, and I'm currently waiting for the Muay Thai class to be done. So it's gone right there. And I had a little bit of time, and I thought I would give 3 job search tips inspired by Muay Thai. So I'd say, tip number 1, you want to use everything at your disposal. So, when you're doing Muay Thai, right, you use all 8, eight parts of your limbs, right? You use your hands, you use your elbows, you use your knees, and you use your feet. Use just about everything. I guess you could say the same for MMA, but I just think it's interesting compared to boxing, right? Where I think the focus is on the punches, but when you're doing Muay Thai, it's kicks. Use your knees, throwing jabs, using your elbows, and then different combinations of these, right? So how does that look in the job search? A lot of people that I work with, they think that just sending in your resume and applying for jobs is the way to go, and that it's it's a numbers game. So that's all that they do. And while that may have worked in the past, it's not going to work so well in today's job market. That's not to say that you still can't get interviews, just throwing in your application, but it's really going to take a lot more than that due to just the competitive nature. Most of my clients are from the US, and the job market there has been a little bit tough, right? And so what you want to do is use everything at your disposal, right? So what does that look like? You want to use your network, right? Networking is such a huge thing. Most of the job seekers that I work with, they don't use their network. They don't tell anyone that they're looking for a job, or if they do, maybe it's just a few of their friends. They don't reach out to anyone. They don't try to meet people in their target that have their target role or are in their target industry or company, and really, maybe there are trends in the job search, right? Things that fads that come and go, but at the end of the day, people are still people, and we want to work with those that we like, right? So it's always good to put yourself out there. So that's one thing that you could also do. I think other thing might be using different job search platforms. LinkedIn, Indeed, those are maybe like the top 2 biggest ones. But of course there are other ones, especially if you're looking at remote work. You might want to check out remote job boards, or if you're in the tech industry. I know a lot of people have been hit by the big tech layoffs, right? And so you might want to look at sites like Built-in, right, where they have different hubs, and again, it's featuring tech jobs, and startups too, and just kind of across the board. So definitely use different job search platforms. Are using different tools. There are tools that you could use to help simplify your job search. A lot of people I work with use ChatGPT to help tailor their resume. Making sure that everything looks good there. And so you just want to use everything at your disposal, much like in Muay Thai. Okay, tip number 2. So, when you're doing Muay Thai, it requires a lot of endurance. You're standing, you're always on your feet, you're bouncing around. A lot of cardio is involved. And, compared to jiu-jitsu, which is what I do, I'd say what I focus on, there's not really that emphasis there. Of course, there is, cardio element, but endurance, I think, is really emphasized in Muay Thai. It's not uncommon for them to do like long runs, a few miles or so, right, before they even start practice. And then there's a lot of conditioning, right, so that when you're in battle, when you're sparring, you're not gassing out. And so the same concept really applies in the job search. Again, the market right now is just not very good, right? It's very competitive, and on average it's taking a few months longer than it did in the past. A lot of the people that I work with, even if they're in like the C-suite, in product management, these jobs that were once like really hot right? They had recruiters knocking down their doors, getting calls all the time, and now it's like, they're lucky to even get a message. So, you want to have endurance in the job search. Know that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And so you want to pace yourself, don't gas yourself out right away. Don't spend most of your time, don't spend your entire day sending out job applications, and then you're so tired you don't even want to do anything the next day. Maybe you want to set a time limit for yourself, maybe just a few hours, right, where you're looking at jobs, you're looking at different applications, you have your resume ready, right, and you just kind of space things out, right? If you're feeling emotionally drained, you're feeling very frustrated, those are times that you might want to step away, from your laptop, go be with your friends, go outside, enjoy some nature, right? Let off steam in some way. Like for me, that's, going to BJJ practice, right? So yeah, pace yourself, set that expectation that if, this is something that you're not used to, you haven't been in the job search for a while, or, things like that, you want to set the right expectations. Like, no, it might take a while, right? But, I think if you're, using everything at your disposal, and then, again, you're pacing yourself, setting the right expectation, I think you'll be okay. And then let's see. So tip number 3, I would say, is you want to make sure you're in a really, really good environment. I'm going to see if I can get just like a little bit closer. But I think, if you're like a fish, right, and then you're living in the desert, you're probably not going to do very well, because you're not suited for the environment. So you want to be in a place that's, best suited for you, right? And I think, when you're training or doing something that's, very difficult, right, it's good to have a support system in place, be in an environment that, really cares for you and wants you to succeed. And I think in Thailand especially, the birthplace of Muay Thai, obviously, there's a really good system here, a really good culture, that supports people that are really interested in training. I actually just met an Israeli guy, that had, he's a remote worker and he lives and trains here, I think now, at least for the time being, and he just fell in love with Muay Thai. He said he met a guy here who was a coach, and that's how he got drawn into that world. And because his coach was so supportive, he fell in love with the sport. And when he went back to Israel, he said he tried to do Muay Thai there, but when they're holding the pads, right, he was just like, oh, kick, kick. And he was like, no, I don't want to be told to kick, I want to be screamed at, to kick. So there's definitely a more supportive maybe environment here. It's a part of the culture. There's that really a vibrant energy about it. And you can see here, maybe, there's Coach Nick, there's like clapping, people are, oh, he's waving hi, and there's good music, good vibes. And everyone here is just very supportive, right? So in the same way in your job search, you don't want to be alone in this. It's difficult, to endure. And if you're facing something difficult, it's easier to do that with, friends, family, people that can understand your struggle, and support you. And, for me, I don't always feel ready to go to class. I'm tired. I didn't sleep well the last night. I didn't eat too much today, but I know that if I have, if my training partner's going, right, if I have a group of people that I know are, counting on me, right, they're expecting to see me, I'm like, okay, I need to show up. And, if I'm struggling with something too, like, oh, I don't know how to do this move, or this is difficult, I know I can lean on them and ask them for help if I need to, right? So in the job search, you want to make sure you have, just as good of a support system, right? If your job search isn't working, you're not able to get interviews, you're not able to get your application through the door, is there someone that you could talk to that's been through the job search? Or, do you have like a coach or something? Have you worked with a resume writer? It could be that there's something there that you're missing. Are you spending too much time on your computer? You're sending out messages, trying to connect with people, sending applications, not hearing anything back. It's kind of depressing, right? It's kind of lonely. Maybe you want to join like a job search support group, right? or have an accountability partner. Do you have friends that are going through the same thing? Maybe you guys can support each other, right, through the process. So those are my 3 job search tips that I have inspired by Muay Thai. So I really hope you enjoyed this and you found this helpful. This is, I know, a new sort of format for giving job search advice. But yeah, if this was interesting, if you liked it, let me know. If you have any other suggestions for me, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you guys after. One last thing, here's the view of the mountains again. I don't know if you can see it super well, but seriously, if you ever find yourself in Bangkok, maybe you landed yourself a nice job, you want to enjoy a nice remote job, and you want to enjoy some nice scenery, great food, amazing people. I think everyone, when you think of Thailand, you think of Bangkok, but if you're looking for, something more natural, more chill, definitely recommend Khao Yai. And if you do Muay Thai or BJJ, then definitely check out Khao Yai, BJJ, and Muay Thai, the gym, yeah. Anyways, this is my first time doing something like this, so please have patience. I'll try to do better next time. Anyways, see you later.